Welcome to Mysteries and Crime, where we delve into the shadows of humanity's darkest deeds. Tonight, we unravel the twisted tale of Stephen Griffiths, the Crossbow Cannibal, a name that sent shivers through the streets of Bradford, England. But what drove this man to such horror? Before we begin, today's clue question: what led investigators to finally capture Griffiths? Drop your guesses in the comments below. Will you uncover the truth this time? Between the years 2009 and 2010, 3 women, Suzanne Blamires, Shelley Armitage, and Susan Rushworth, vanished from the streets of Bradford. Their disappearances puzzled police until an unthinkable revelation surfaced. The city held its breath. What started as missing person reports quickly spiraled into a gruesome serial case, one unlike anything seen before. May 21st, 2010. The CCTV footage is grainy, but clear enough. A chilling scene unfolds in Griffiths' flat. A woman, later identified as Suzanne Blamires, tries to escape, desperate, panicked. And then, a crossbow. The bolt strikes. She collapses instantly. The killer, calm and calculated, drags her body back inside. Forensic teams later revealed Griffiths did not stop there. He dismembered Suzanne's body, some parts washed up in the river Aire, others never found. Days later, investigators linked this horror to 2 other missing women, Shelley Armitage and Susan Rushworth, both sex workers, both last seen in the same area. And now, a pattern emerged. Bradford police scrambled. A predator had been lurking in plain sight, and no one suspected. Who was this man, and why did he kill? Stay with us. The truth is only beginning to unfold. The women lost to the Crossbow Cannibal were more than victims. They were daughters, mothers, dreamers, each with a story that deserved to be told. Suzanne Blamires, the fighter. At 36 years old, Suzanne Blamires was a survivor. Born and raised in Bradford, she had her struggles, but never lost her sharp wit and resilience. She battled addiction, yet those who knew her described her as fiery, outspoken, and full of life. Her mother, Nikki Blamires, never stopped searching for her. Even as the days turned to weeks, then months, she refused to give up hope. Suzanne fought her demons daily, but in the end, she couldn't fight the monster lurking in the shadows. Shelley Armitage, the poet. Shelley was just 31 years old when she vanished. She was bright, creative, and deeply loved by her family. What set Shelley apart was her love for writing. She kept a diary, filling its pages with poetry and reflections on life. She had dreams, aspirations that many believed she could have achieved if only given the chance. Then, in April of 2010, she disappeared, without a trace. Her words remain, but her voice was silenced forever. Susan Rushworth, the devoted mother. At 43 years old, Susan Rushworth had a family who adored her. A mother of 3 children, she was known for her kind heart and unwavering love. She vanished in June of 2009, and for over a year, her family held on to desperate hope. They never stopped believing they would see her again. But Stephen Griffiths had already stolen that future from them. A city's lost souls. These women had lives beyond their struggles. They were human beings, not just victims in a tragic headline. But to Stephen Griffiths, they were nothing more than prey. And the streets of Bradford, already treacherous for its most vulnerable, had become a hunting ground for a predator no one saw coming. And then there was Stephen Griffiths, a man who hid his true nature behind intellect and academia. A 40-year-old criminology PhD student, Griffiths appeared to be a scholar of crime, studying serial killers with obsessive fascination. But this was not just research, it was a blueprint for murder. His favorite book, The History of Murder, a text detailing the world's most notorious killers. His flat, a dark sanctuary of horror. Inside, police found a collection of violent literature, including books on Jack the Ripper and Ted Bundy, a crossbow, his weapon of choice, disturbing notes, some detailing his own twisted fantasies and methods. Born in 1969, Griffiths' violent tendencies emerged early. As a teenager, he was convicted of possessing an air rifle and assaulting a store manager. These incidents led to a diagnosis of personality disorder, but instead of receiving long-term help, he slipped through the cracks of the system. To the outside world, Griffiths was eccentric but unassuming. He mingled with local sex workers, offering them small talk and fake kindness. In reality, he was meticulously selecting his victims. But Griffiths did not just kill. He boasted about his crimes. He recorded his brutal acts. He named himself the Crossbow Cannibal. Yet despite his intelligence, he made one fatal mistake. And that mistake? It would expose him to the world and finally end his reign of terror. The police soon uncovered the grisly details of Stephen Griffiths' crimes. His modus operandi was disturbingly methodical. He lured his victims into his flat under the guise of safety. Once inside, they were trapped. Then the crossbow, a silent, deadly weapon. And finally, the dismemberment. Griffiths did not just kill, he documented his horrors. Investigators later discovered a gruesome collection of images and videos. He had filmed himself standing over his victims' remains, describing his actions in chilling detail. Even more disturbing, he boasted about cannibalism. Though never confirmed, Griffiths claimed he had eaten parts of his victims. The media would later dub him the Crossbow Cannibal, a name he seemed to relish. But how did he dispose of the evidence? Police believe he dismembered the bodies in his bathroom before disposing of remains in the River Aire. Some parts were found, others were lost forever. For almost a year, he killed undetected, until he made one fatal mistake. A security camera in his apartment complex captured the exact moment he killed Suzanne Blamires. Authorities immediately arrested Griffiths, and when confronted, he simply smiled. Then he said something that haunted investigators forever. "I'm Osama bin Laden." He was mocking them. But justice was closing in, more coming soon. When police arrested Stephen Griffiths, they already had one key piece of evidence: the CCTV footage of him killing Suzanne Blamires. But detectives needed more to tie him to the disappearances of Shelley Armitage and Susan Rushworth. Bradford police launched a full forensic sweep of Griffiths' flat. The results? Blood traces confirmed to be from Suzanne. A gruesome collection of crime scene photos taken by Griffiths himself. Evidence of research. He had studied famous serial killers and even recorded his own thoughts. Detectives then scoured the River Aire, hoping to recover more remains. And soon, they found something chilling. A bag containing body parts, including Suzanne's missing head. It was now undeniable. Stephen Griffiths was a serial killer. But what about the other victims? The answers were even more disturbing. Investigators faced one major problem. There was little physical evidence connecting Griffiths to Shelley Armitage and Susan Rushworth. Unlike Suzanne, whose remains were partially recovered, The other two women seemed to have vanished without a trace. The forensic team examined Griffiths' bathtub and kitchen drains, searching for microscopic DNA. They found blood residue, but it was too degraded to confirm which victim it belonged to. Without full remains or clear forensic proof, police relied on Griffiths' own words. And in chilling interviews, he made it clear. "I've killed a lot more than Suzanne, you know." But how many? He refused to say. And without clear evidence, some of his crimes may never be fully known. One question remained: would justice be served? When news broke of the Crossbow Cannibal, shock and fear spread across Bradford. The red light district, where many women worked, became emptier than ever. Many sex workers lived in terror, realizing they had spoken to Griffiths, or even been inside his flat. Families of the victims were devastated. Suzanne Blamires' mother, in particular, was vocal about her pain, demanding justice for all three women. But for the people of Bradford, the horror was not just the murders. It was the fact that Griffiths had lived among them, unnoticed, for years. And then, there was the media. The press descended on Bradford, branding Griffiths the Crossbow Cannibal. Sensational headlines focused on his claims of cannibalism, though police could never prove them. Some newspapers compared him to Jack the Ripper, calling his methods a modern-day horror story. But many activists raised a critical point. If the victims had not been sex workers, would police have caught him sooner? For months, Griffiths' face was everywhere, his cold stare haunting the front pages. And then, the trial began. Though police knew Griffiths was guilty, they faced one troubling issue. The total number of victims remained unknown. Griffiths himself boasted that he had killed more than 3 women. Could there have been more victims? Detectives reviewed dozens of cold cases, searching for missing women who matched Griffiths' pattern. But without confessions or clear forensic links, they could never prove if he had killed before. Some investigators believe Griffiths may have been active for years, long before he was caught on CCTV. Others argue that he was just getting started, and that if he had not been caught, the body count would have risen sharply. Regardless, one thing was certain: he was dangerous, and he needed to be locked away. December of 2010. Griffiths pleaded guilty to all 3 murders. His demeanor in court, cold, emotionless, unapologetic. When asked why he killed, he simply said, "I am misanthropic." He received 3 life sentences, a whole life order, ensuring he would never be released. The families of the victims sobbed in court. They would never get full justice. There were still so many unanswered questions. Where were Shelley and Susan's remains? Had Griffiths truly killed others? But Griffiths refused to say another word. He was locked away, forever, at Wakefield Prison, home to some of Britain's most notorious killers. But even behind bars, his crimes left a lasting scar on the city of Bradford. Even today, questions remain. Did Griffiths have more victims? Police suspect, but lack proof. What really happened to Shelley and Susan? Their full remains were never recovered. Was Griffiths inspired by other killers? His obsession with serial murder suggests so. Some believe Griffiths wanted to be caught, that filming his crime was a calculated move. But others argue that he underestimated technology, and if that CCTV camera had not been rolling, would he have stopped? Or would he have killed again? The world may never know. After Griffiths' arrest, safety concerns skyrocketed in Bradford. Local officials promised better protections for vulnerable women, but activists argued that not enough changed. The case forced a national conversation about how sex workers are treated by law enforcement. Many believe, if the victims had been from different backgrounds, Griffiths might have been caught sooner. In the end, the Crossbow Cannibal became one of Britain's most notorious killers, a grim reminder of how evil can hide in plain sight. And for the families of his victims, the pain will never fade. The case of Stephen Griffiths is haunting. And now we turn to you. Throughout this chilling case, there was one critical mistake that led to Stephen Griffiths' capture. But did you catch it? What led investigators to finally capture Griffiths? Drop your answer in the comments below. Your theory might just be right. If you love unraveling true crime mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And as always, stay curious, stay vigilant, stay safe.